In this tutorial, I'll talk about headings and paragraphs, semantic tags, what they are used for, and what they are, like its meaning and tags. I'll write them there in our document. Then also inline elements and block elements, block level elements. Sorry. So this video will be very easy to understand, something demystified and explicit for you. So now talking about headings, right? Headings are used to label and organize content on the web page. And in HTML we have about 6 headings, right? Sorry, before that, I believe you already know how this is being done. So we have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 to H6. So it's H1 to H6. We don't have H7, H8. If you see something like that, it's totally wrong. So H1 here stands as the first heading, or we can call it the main heading. Then the H2 is the subheading, and the H3 it is subheading, and the H4 is subheading, like just like we have at H5, H6, right? So these are the headings in HTML, H1 to 6, or we can just precisely say H1 is the main heading, then H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6 are the subheadings from more important to least important. Now, before we write some text there, if we go here, we don't see anything there actually. We don't see anything there. So let's go back. Let's remove this console. Now, the thing about the headings that it makes our content be easy to read, like and so scan, and it also helps the search engines understand the page. Like before, I was talking about SEO, search engine optimization. Whenever we search something, it allows the user to be able to see them. And I also talked about screen readers. So actually in H1, it helps screen readers be able to navigate the page on how it is being done. So actually just think of headings like book titles, or let me say chapter titles, and it's easily done. And one thing about this H1 is that it contains its own font size. Though we have something called the user agent style sheet. It's from browsers. So the browser for this particular element, which is the H1 element, will have its own font size. Could be 16 pixels or 14 pixels. It could have its own color. Actually, the main color for all browsers is the black color. You won't see white, pink, or any other random colors. So if I write H1, like have H1 already, sorry, I have a text of, let's say, H1, H1, H1 text. And go there, you see H1 text. It's big, it has its own colors, it has its own letter spacing. Letter spacing, if you see H1 and if you see H and 1, you see there's a spacing, that's letter spacing. Even this text, it also has a spacing. It has its own padding. You check from this upside, the top is a padding top. It actually brings the text down, and the color changes the color to black, and this is the main color it actually use. Then let me just write all of them so you can see the difference. Each of them have its own font sizes. So now this is it. Now we get here, you see how it is: H1 text, H2 text, H3 text, H4 text, H5 text, and H6 text. You see how it's like big too small. Let's take for example now the H1 is 48 pixel, the H2 is 36 pixel, the H3 is 20 pixel, the H4 like 17 pixels, H5 like 14, and the H6 is like 10 pixels. So all of them have its own size depending on what you want to use it for. Then we have paragraphs. Paragraph is the next thing. Paragraphs. Okay, something I want to do, but let's just forget about that. So we have paragraph, and it is P, right? It's the P tag. Now the paragraphs you actually use for normal text content, right? Just like saying you have a title, right, and you have a text, or you have a heading and you have a subheading, like that. So now each of these P, or let's say the paragraph, holds its own related sentences, and also one thing is that it makes our text be readable and actually separates ideas clearly from each other. Though I just think of it as something that is grouped in a book. So in paragraph, it's also something we could write like, okay, this is a paragraph text. Then you get here. Though one thing is that the paragraph is a block level element. I'll talk about the block level element after I'm done with semantic tags, but let's just go with this. So we have paragraphs here. And one thing is that though browsers automatically add spacing between the paragraphs, you can see there's a spacing after this H6 text we have here, right? After the H6 text, you see there's a spacing between them. Then this is a paragraph, so the spacing there. So that will be all about headings and paragraphs. Now welcome back. The next one we have is the semantic tag. Like I said, what they are used for. Now one other thing we didn't do in the last video is that we didn't write the title of our web page. So you're talking about semantic tags. Okay, perfect. I'll go back. Now here we talk about semantic tags. Well, one thing is that I'll need to digress this whole thing and talk more than the code. Um, just listen, please. So, well, semantic tags actually describes the content, like what the content is, not how it looks like. Let me go again. I said semantic tags describe what the content is, but not just how it looks like. And these semantic tags are HTML tags that give meaning to the content inside them. So instead of just telling the browser how to display something, they tell the browser what the content is about, right? And I think there are about 6 examples or 7 examples of the semantic tags, right? We have the ones which I've used though with HTML. I think we have the header, we have main, the header tag. Let me just write them down. We have the header tag, right? We have the main. I'll just think of writing them for it to give me space. Main. Let me write them down. I'm going to explain each of them one by one. We have the section. I actually use this a lot. This section, and we have the nav. Actually, I would have put the nav as the first, but let's just let's just continue like that. We have the nav, and we have the article. We have footer element. This one is the other part, like the one at the bottom page of a section. Now, starting with all of this, we have the header, the main, the section, the nav, the article, and footer. There's another one again, which is outside, but I really don't use that a lot. These are the main one which you need to know of. Now the header, all right, the header is the top, or I did as the first one. So the header is the top or intro part of a page or a section, and you can just think of let's say the header as a book, like the cover of, or maybe say something like table of contents. But instead of bringing that kind of analogy, let me just put it in an easier way. Now, the header tag which we have here, right? This is a header tag. So the header tag is used for introductory content, like it contains logo, navigation link, and one thing it's used for is that it is the top or introduction of a page or section, which I already said before, right? Then the next one which I have here is the main. Now this is the main content. This actually this tag actually identifies the main content of the page. We can just think of it as something which holds the main content of the page, like either it should contain what the page is mostly about, or maybe something that only appears once per page. And actually it is one of a tag by it helps screen it out. Then this other one is a section, right? Section is a group of related content, and it's actually used to group related content together, actually using something like the heading, and also used to break content into clear parts. Like we have a lot of broad stuff or something complex, so it just breaks them into chunks. And we have the nav. Now this nav stands for navigation. So if we were to create a website, or maybe say if you go to a website, the first thing you'll see is the nav, right? So we have the top nav, which is at the top. We have the sidebar, which is at the left or at the right. I'm sure you've come across that when you open a website, or maybe the social media platform you use on your phone. So they do make it of the semantic tag nav, although some do use div. I'll come to div as a doc level element soon. So about the nav, right? Well, this nav is actually used for navigations, in case you want to put your navigation links, right? To be used in that manner. Then we have the article, right? Now this article is actually used for blog post. Let's just say it's a self-contained piece of content for blog post articles, like just like how you have Vanguard blog posts, like blog websites, right? It's used there. And the last one on the list, we have the footer. Now the footer is, like I said before, I said that is the bottom part of a page or section, and that footer we have here, like, is used for closing or something that has to do with more of extra informations. I could give example like let's say the copyright info, contact details, links, auto info, or any other thing which you want to use it for, and it's actually marks the end of a page or section, just like a footer in a book or a document, right? So that is it. So from here, I'm going to create a simple navbar just to show you by using the semantic tags. So let me start. So I have my comment, right? This is my comment, and let's say a simple navbar. So I'll make use of my header. My header, I'm going to use a div. So I'm going to use a CSS here, but just watch carefully and see how it works. So I can give you as my let's say my nav text anything there. You can not really text, you can give it with image or give it with image and text, right? Then I have just text. I'm not supposed to write text here though, but it's supposed to be with anchor, so I'm going to teach you about anchors tomorrow. So I use the nav, which is for my navigation links. Then I'm going to make use of the another list, which is the UL. The another list is the UL. It's used for giving lists and works with the list items. Though we have the UL, which is the another list, and that another list is in bullet points, and we have the OL, which is the ordered list. Those ordered lists are in numbers, integers, right? 1 2 3 4 5 to 100 1 billion or any other number which you want to put it at. So this LI stands for the list items. So now this is let's say um let's see about contacts, services. I think 3 is enough for us. So services, and let me show you how it's going to be. It's going to be breakpoints like this. This is how it's what I'm talking about. Then the next, we create another div again. I'll give it a class. This is where we have the menu, right? So if you go to a normal website, you notice that you have the logo or maybe a text like this, and we have the links. The links is at the center, so this is what they do use. And we have the UL being nested in a navigation tag. Then as of the navigation tag, we have the menu. You can just see menu icon, for instance. Then you notice that everything is inside the header, right? So let's create a class here and say header nav. So though we'll be using CSS here, so you just watch closely on how it is. Let's go back and see how it is there. So this is how it is here. Let me go back. Then I'm going to create the CSS file. So you click, you're going to click this. You see the search, you see the location, you see this one with card. It's the third one you're going to click to create the CSS file. So it's style.css. .css is an extension for creating it. So we've created our CSS file. So now we make use of what we call the universal selector. We have up to three selectors, CSS selectors. We have the universal selector, which is like this. We have the class selector. The class selector is done if we make use of a class in HTML. For instance, now if you look into this header class, now we have it that class is an attribute, is a CSS attribute in the HTML file. The class is what is an attribute in the HTML file or document. So now I'm using class, and class on here is dots, right? Dots. But if you have ID, right? Okay, let me say something like this. Let's say here I have an ID, or let's use class again. Let's say we use class. Where is this arrow? Quotes. Okay, let's say we use class. Let's say nav item, right? And I use ID as nav ID, something like that. So that ID you're seeing there is written as hash, right? Hash this ID. So this one is universal selector. So the universal selector is like you're having CSS properties in the whole entire HTML body. Then this is the class. The class uses dot. Whereby you can use to add styles. Then this hash is the ID as a unique identifier. So we'll work with this. Let's just remove some of the things here. Let's remove this one. So the ID is hash, the class is dots, and for that asterisk is the universal. You notice that the universal, it does not have any attributes, HTML attributes. Yeah. So here we have a padding of 0, which removes padding. You see there's no padding again, and even the dots aren't there again. Then next is the margin. The margin is the spaces. You see the margin is the, like, you're giving a space. If you finish a sentence, right, you have to give a line. Or let's say you're writing a letter, you have to give a line, right, to go to the next line. So this is how it works with margins. Then we have the box sizing. Border box, to be in a border box. Then we have to use the list style none. This list style none will actually be used. Let's remove all this. Let me show you how the list style none works. I think that would have been the first thing I should have done. This list style, look at it. We have this, right? So list style none is a property, CSS property, which will remove the bullet points. You can see the bullet points are in there again. So let's continue writing what we've done before. Border box. Then now we have the header, right? The header is like the container. The header is, you see the header is from here to here. So it's the container of what holds this the text that is at the left, the links, or this part, and this other side too. So now we have the header nav. So since it is a class attribute, right, we use the dots. So, and it also has a name, that is header nav. So we'll do dots header hyphen nav. Alright, and here we're going to do some CSS properties. So I'll just be explaining them or demystifying them one after the other. So we have a width. We're going to put a width of 100%. Now the width of 100% will actually take up the full width which is available. Yeah, and actually makes your navbar responsive. Then we add a z-index. A z-index is a positive value of 2, or we can even add let's say 1000. Now the 1000 is still the same thing as 1. Can use 1 or 1000. So the z-index, if you have a positive value, is actually used to bring the navbar at the front of any text or image or anything we have there. Then we make use of the display, a display property having a value of flex. Now the display flex is actually, display flex is a flex box. It's a two-dimensional layout mechanism whereby we can be able to keep all our items in the horizontal way or horizontal pattern. Look at it here. You see it's no longer in vertical. Now all of them are in horizontal way. So now we have the align items center. Now the align item center will be used to align the items vertically. You can see it has made change. You see text, contact, and menu. They have been aligned vertically. That is from top to the bottom. Then we have justify contents. We're going to make use of space between. We have space between, we have space around, we have space evenly, we have space justify content center, justify content flex starts, and justify content flex end. So yeah, I will show you those space between, space around, and space evenly. Now the space between, you see the effect of how it's going to be like, so you know how it is when you see a website that have their own navbar. You see there are no spaces at the left and the right? So if we make use of space around, there will be a little space at the left and at the right. Now, and if we make use of the space evenly, then that one makes the navbar equal. So they're equal, left, right, everywhere equal. So yeah, I want to use between between. Then next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a padding of 10 pixels. You see, before if I use between, it will not have any space at the left and the right, but because of the padding I added, that's why you're seeing that space there. So it gives padding top, bottom, left, and right. Then I think that should be all. Let's give it extra padding again. It's not that much. You can see 18 pixels. Let's see. Okay, looks perfect now. Now, next one is the nav item. Right, I'm using the list items tags. So we say dot, this is a class attribute dot nav item dot nav item. Then we're going to group. When we have this command like this, that means they're being grouped. We're going to group them. So we'll make use of display flex. So everything will be in a single line for the nav items. Oh, sorry, display flex. Okay, good. Then we're going to add some padding to the left and the right. So we'll give it a padding left of let's say 10 pixels, and a padding right of same 10 pixels. Okay, looks okay. Now I think the padding is much, though we are viewing it in a mobile screen. It's supposed to be having a menu icon. So the padding is much. Let's reduce the padding here to, let's say, like 4 pixels. So that should be enough. Okay, it's better now. Then you can be able to change the color. Give the color. I'll just do the color to be white, no, red. I can't give it white because just we're having a white blank sheet there. Then you can give a border of 1 pixel solid, or okay, let's use dashed black. So this is how we have it. Then we can use the border radius. Now the border radius, I've not introduced this one. This border radius is used to make this our border we have here to be in a rounded shape. So if we use 1 pixels, or let's say 2 or 10 pixels, you see the effect of it. That is it. But it's kind of inconsequential here, so just remove it. Just trying to show you how the border and the border radius is. and this is how our nav bar. This is the top nav bar. I want to show you how it is in, so it's like this. So this is very very basic and simple, and just for this video I created a simple website just to show you how it is. Right, so this is the website here, and this food school is what we have for this part here, which is the this nav text is this for the left hand side. Then this middle can be links, or I just use this search, right? And the right hand side is the menu, just like how I have this one. These are links, here's the menu. So this is responsive as well. This here is a JavaScript, so we don't actually need to know this one first, but you're gonna learn that one when you will learn that one. So having done this simple nav bar, right, though it's very very basic and easy to understand, that's when you start making use of a lot of styles. But let me show you an example of what I did just for this video. So here is a basic website which I created just for this video, and here we have food school, right? This is food school. Food school is at the left hand side, so assume this how we have ours here as the basic one. So this can be a text, it can be an image, it can be a logo, sorry, it can be a logo. So here is the logo, so food school is the logo. Now at the center we have this search, this user, and this wallet. That's the same way we have it for this one being at the middle, just like our own about contact and services. Then we have the menu icon. The menu icon here you're seeing is this menu icon we have here, right? So we have section. This section, I talked about this section. This section starts from the experience, right, and everything. Then the footer. The footer is this part, which is the ending page. This is the footer because it ends here. So this is the footer. So let me view it in a desktop mode. Show you how it is. So basically this is how it is. So this is the footer that you can see here. So it's that simple. So let's go to the next one. Next one we have is the block level elements and the inline elements. Now before we get into using those elements and know which one is the block level element and the inline element. So now the block level elements, right, they are elements that start on a new line, right, and take up the full weight that is available. Notice that I made use of a weight of 100% in when it comes to using semantic tags, just to show you how we create the structure of a basic nav bar. Now in this one we will use some block level elements. The next one which I said is the inline elements. The inline elements are elements that stay on the same line and take up only as much space as needed. I'll go again with the block level and the inline elements and use the elements for them, or the examples of the elements for them. I said that the block level elements are elements that start on a new line and take up the available width, or the width that is available, or the full width, or just take it like this. Block level elements are elements that start on a new line and take up the full width that is available. Then the inline elements are elements that stay on the same line and say take only as much space as needed. Okay, that's what I said. So now For the block level elements, this is comment is the block level element, and I will list out the block level elements which are used in HTML. Then will now make use of them. So just list them out. We have div. The div is the general it's genetic, or it's a general or genetic container, and that D stands for division, right? Then we have the P. We've made use of this before as a paragraph. We have the H1, right? The H1 to the H6. I was saying that the H1 is the main heading, then the H2 to the H6 is the subheadings, or we can say H2 is the subheading, H3 is the subheading, H4 is the sub like that. Then we have section. See that the section is also a semantic tag, right? Then we have the header. The header is for nav bar, as the container of the nav bar, just like how we have these ones. Okay. Then we have footer. Footer is also um, footer is also a block level element. We have the main. Right, the main is like the main content of the page of the browser. I think I'll just go and writing it like this. Then the next one we have is the nav. The nav is also a block level element. So just think of this. I talked about the semantic tags, right? So those semantic tags, all the semantic tags are block level elements. And we have the ordered list. I use that in this part for the about contact services. With the list items, there is the li, right? The li is also a block level element. Then you have form. This form, I'll talk about this one. Sorry, actually, I'll explain all this. I'll talk about that. So we have form. So these are the elements that are block level. They don't, start in the same line, but it starts on a new line, right? It creates a new line and takes up the full width that is available. Then talk about the inline elements, which we say that it doesn't start a new line but stays on the same line and take only as much space as needed. Then for the inline element we have span, right? The span is also a generic inline container. I was saying that this div is a generic container, right? Or we can say is a generic block level container. Then the span is a generic inline container. Then we have the anchor. The anchor is a link, like this href you see here is the hypertext reference. This hash is where we're going to put our link, right? And just let me show you how it is. Notice that it's hash, so this is a link. You can see I'm able to click it, right? But you notice this one, I didn't use any link here in this part. I'm supposed to do it here, but I'm just trying to show you a simple navbar on how it looks like. Talking about this about contact, I can't click it, it's not clickable. But this hash, you can see because of I use the anchor, I can be able to click it. I think I will talk about tomorrow. Then we have the strong, right? This is also an inline element. It's actually for bold text. The other one again similar to this, we have the B. It's for bold too, or we can say bold, which is only for visual only, and we use this for screen readers. We have the EM, which is the emphasis. Means we can be able to use this EM to put our text in an italic way
right? Italic, like as if the text is bending or it's being slanted. It's not bending, being slanted. And also another alternative of using the emphasis is using the I. This is also italic too, right? Then we have the image, the img. IMG is also inline elements. So basically these are all, right, this might not be all, but these are some of the block level elements, or maybe all the elements. So now you know these for block level elements, right, and these for inline elements. Now we'll just quickly erase all of these, so you can just screenshot them if you want, so you can able to practice them and know which one is block level elements or inline elements.
Now I'm going to make use of those block level elements and elements I talked about. Most of them, not all of them. So we make use of H1, which is the headings. So I'm going to use a section, which is going to be the section. But before that, let's use the main. Going to be the main content of our page. Then we have the section. Now in this section, we can give it an inline style, even a padding of 20 pixels, right? Then we use a div. A div is a block level element. So a div, and here we can give a h1, which is the main heading. Let's say something like let's say HTML stands for hypertext markup language, right? So we see there. So the text, we can actually give it a font size if the font size is too big. So we use a style. I'm just using this inline styles because to make it easier instead of going to our CSS file to write all this. So we give it a font size. This is to give the size of the text to reduce it. See, it's been reduced because it's too small. Let's give it 16 pixels. I think we're missing something here. And the text markup, okay, is good now. So now we have the h1, right? And now I want to make use of span. The span is an inline element, so they stay on the same line. It's a generic inline container, like I said before. Let's say I was trying to change the color of stands for to a different color. Since everything is black, I want to change stand for to red. So I'm gonna clear this up and use span, right? See stands, right? We have the same thing there. So we can just use a style here and the color to be red. So you see, it's not taking any full space, it's just inline, which is inline means something horizontally done. So you see that is there.